4 wide receiver rankings. We have injuries both at quarterback and at pass catchers. Hayden, just to put on the table, which of the injured players are you not including in this list?
No Terry McLaurin. I'm going no Jawan Jennings. And then for the quarterbacks, got Justin Fields in, Gene Daniels out, and then Brock Purdy in as well.
We'll have the quarterbacks and tight ends on Saturday, just for reference for all of you. And as always, I like to compare Hayden's rankings to consensus. This, in the 4 years of the show, might be the most different you have with the other experts in the field. So I can't wait to highlight those as we go along. We kick things off with the wide receiver one. You can plug and play this one every single week. This is Puka Nacua against the Indianapolis Colts.
Until he's not on pace for 164 receptions, like there's nothing I can do here. On top of that, Kenny Moore, the slot corner for the Colts, is not going to play. Mike Hilton, who was like been bouncing around the league and like he got cut by the Dolphins. Like that's not a good sign. That's going to be Puka's matchup. So Puka Nacua is in the Cooper Kupp role, you know, with Davante Adams playing more outside. Now you're getting Puka Nacua in that the triple crown winning role on the inside. So as long as if he can catch a couple more touchdowns here and there, that would be nice. But even without them, he's still a dog.
Yeah, he's still nasty. It would just be sweet if he actually, you know, was targeted in the red zone and in the end zone. Outside of the red zone, Puka Nacua has 45% of the team's targets. Inside the red zone, he has 6%, 1 target so far. This has also been his thing in the last couple of years, but that could flip at any point. Like 9 end zone passes for the Rams this season. Puka has 0 of them. Davante Adams actually has 8. That's a preview for how highly Davante Adams also ranks for you this week. Next is Amon-Ra St. Brown and his little dance after getting a first down. His podcast, by the way, I don't know. I don't get fed many things on social media. His podcast clips with his brother and then all of other wide receivers and running backs. Dave Montgomery was on it this week.
Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious.
Yep.
That's one of the few things that when I see clips, it actually makes me go watch the entire full episode.
Mm-hmm. People are saying USC's got the best football podcast grouping in the world right now.
Yeah. Does Matt Leinart have one? Reggie Bush?
Matt Leinart's definitely in the content game. That's for sure.
Yeah, this is Amon-Ra St. Brown against the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland's defense is awesome. Is on my radar that week 1 against the Green Bay Packers, this Lions offense was totally shut down. And then other than the Green Bay Packers, and maybe even a tick above them, this Browns defense is instantly impactful and equally as impactful. Yeah. So I'm intrigued to see what has changed for this Lions team on week 1 versus week 4, other than being at home in this game.
Yeah, this is the team that's given me the most fits with rankings because I know how dominant the Browns defense is, that like both of their top 50 picks on defense rookies have been playing well. And then Myles Garrett is just an absolute savage out there. And then obviously you have Denzel Ward and Schwartz is still calling things. So I think it's like one of the best defenses in the league. And then the Lions are second in projected points this week at 27.25. So I'm going with the markets here, which say the Lions are really damn good at football again. And I'm just going to keep going with Amon-Ra St. Brown up high.
Browns run a ton of man coverage. Amon-Ra St. Brown is targeted on 42% of his routes against man coverage, and he's highly targeted when the opposition blitzes on top of that.
And Ward doesn't go into the slot very often, if ever.
Malik Nabers, all the way up at number 3 with a new quarterback facing the Chargers defense. Your thoughts on this one?
He's a wide receiver 3 in usage. I think that the downfield routes and targets are not going to necessarily go away because Jackson Dart, I think, is a very aggressive passer with plenty of arm talent as well. I think that the big thing for Malik Nabers is just like dig routes, little slants, RPO stuff. I think that's going to start going to Malik Nabers at a higher rate than what it was with Russell Wilson. I think that the up-tempo part of the Giants offense is going to be refreshing as well. So I think that Jackson Dart was maybe the most underrated prospect coming out of the draft this year, and hopefully they can hit the ground running. This is a team that the defense wants to prevent the big plays, but they will allow some receptions underneath, a lot of team speed. So it's not an easy matchup, but I do think that like 5 receptions within 5-10 yards on line of scrimmage, I think is totally doable here.
Yeah, Chargers have been great on both sides of the ball, but kind of their dominance has allowed opposing offenses to then get there in third and fourth quarter. So that's definitely possible here with Malik Nabers if they don't keep the game close. Nico Collins has been a fantasy disappointment, but here he is as your wide receiver 4 against the Tennessee Titans, a Titans defense that have allowed, Courtland Sutton to go for 6 for 61 and 1.
Yep.
Both Rams wide receivers to get at least 91 yards.
Yep.
And then Michael Pittman Jr. 6 for 73 and 1.
Yeah, and all those players play like somewhat similar roles to Nico Collins on the outside. L'Jarius Sneed's pretending that he doesn't know who Nico Collins is. I think they have a clue who Nico Collins is. He's the 6'4" guy running faster than everybody. Yeah, I guess it's a slightly disappointing start, but he's a wide receiver 15 on wide receiver 11 usage. This is the same bad offensive line as it was last year when he was still a top 10 fantasy wide receiver. This is just a good spot in general. So I don't love what I'm seeing from the new offensive coordinator, but that makes it more difficult for CJ Stroud, the ground game, and the rest of these guys. Like, when in doubt, throw the ball to Nico.
Next is Justin Jefferson at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not at Pittsburgh, obviously. This is in Dublin. Just 54% of the yardage gained by the Vikings so far this season has been in the air. He only ran 25 passing routes this past week. He has yet, according to Rich Rebar, run more than 30 passing routes in a game so far this season, whereas his lowest routes per game of a season in his career is at 36. So again, that was an 11-point difference last week. And to me and to us, this is just this new wave of a Kevin O'Connell offense in 2025.
Totally predictable. I didn't draft Justin Jefferson like much at all. And same thing with like Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. That whole just the offseason moves were just pointing to this. And so far, they're 30th in wide receiver usage. They're number 26 in neutral pass rate. Justin Jefferson himself is a wide receiver 24 on wide receiver 30 usage. That said, Joey Porter's got a hamstring injury. That's the cornerback one for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's just been not very good on defense at all. They feel old. And Justin Jefferson, I think with Carson Wentz, they will pass the ball a little bit more than they did with JJ McCarthy. Just felt like that they opened up the offense a little bit more last week than the first two games. And I just think that Carson Wentz is a better football player than JJ McCarthy is at this point. So it's a better spot for Justin Jefferson, but like the days of him like leading the NFL in yards per game, that's just so much more difficult in this matchup now that we have Jordan Addison back in there and that they want to run the ball with Jordan Mason.
Spoiler alert, you do not have Jordan Addison in your top 42 today. I know some people drafted him and been wanting to play him since he is off suspension. I will say the Steelers allow 74% completion rate on throws 10 or more yards down the field to wide receivers.
Oof.
And that has kind of been Jordan Addison's game in the past.
Yeah. In my notes, if you guys go to Underdog Network where I have guys that I haven't ranked, but I have notes on them. I just recommended just trade Jordan Addison before the game start, because if we start seeing 4 or 5 targets for him in this new offense, it's not going to look pretty for Jordan Addison, who's already a negative regression candidate. I don't think the quarterbacks are going to throw the ball downfield as well as Sam Darnold did last year. And then obviously this year too. Your
first battle with consensus rankings is here. Romeo Doubs is your wide receiver 6 at the Las Vegas Raiders. He's wide receiver 12 in consensus rankings, which to me makes me wonder if those people have either looked at the box scores or followed what the Bears have done in terms of making Romeo Doubs their primary pass catcher. And it's not like Romeo Doubs hasn't left any yards on the field. He definitely has.
Yeah, he's dropped a couple passes, but the explosives are there. He's gotten very lucky. Like obviously Trayvon Diggs fell over, and then there was the 2 touchdowns the previous week, just like zone wins. But in the standard drop back game, he's like, to me, very obviously the focal point of the offense, and the Bears don't have a ground game. So they're in the standard drop back game a ton. And then Ben Johnson, I think, is starting to trust the offensive line and Caleb a little bit more, a couple more wrinkles, more explosives because of trick plays. So I love all that stuff. He's the wide receiver 3 on wide receiver 7 usage. And I think that they're going to be forced into a pass heavy game script the rest of the season because their defense is terrible and they can't run the ball. So there's going to be a ton of dropbacks. So I think like Caleb's numbers, like at the end of the year, are going to look very good. And I think that Rome Odunze, even with his flaws, is the best like dig route runner, post route runner on the team. And then the Raiders secondary is beyond pathetic right now. They lost so many guys this offseason up front and in the secondary that this is just a great spot all the way around.
Rome is top 14 across the league in target share, air yards, and red zone target share for his team. You can see him in the pick 'em lobby right now at 63.5 receiving yards. Is this higher or lower? Or if you want to do fantasy points, that's 10.8. Longest reception, like 23.5. Again, if you want to take these against this Raiders defense, I know it's on the road. You can use promo code The Show, play $5, and now it's get $100 in bonus credits for the first time you play.
I got an idea for the people. Take some lowers every once in a while. Find the guys that we're hating on and take some lowers. Mix one in every a couple weeks.
Davante Adams is your wide receiver 7 against the Indianapolis Colts. We talked about this with Puka Nacua, but Davante Adams I mean, 8 wide receivers have a 30% target share or higher across the league in the opening weeks of the season. 2 of them are on the LA Rams.
Yeah, Davante is the wide receiver 1 overall in expected fantasy points. All those end zone targets definitely helping out. He has not practiced with the hamstring injury. It's too early on Friday. I do not know if he's going to be out there or not. He could easily miss this, or if he is a DNP, I'll have to move him down my rankings. So this is like a wait and see. Hopefully that they were just resting with that hamstring injury. But, I like Lou Anarumo, but I don't like him, with this talent against extremely experienced quarterbacks and play callers. So this is a good spot if he can go.
This will not surprise you. You are well ahead of consensus on Brian Thomas Jr., who is your wide receiver 8. He's wide receiver 22 in consensus rankings. Yeah. They've given up, Hayden. People have put their tinfoil hats on the board behind me, behind this brick. It's yarn, red strings connecting Shane Waldron with the Jacksonville Jaguars and him ruining this passing attack. Yeah. That stuff has literally infuriated me all week long. We're talking about the passing game coordinator, in your opinion, out there ruining Brian Thomas Jr. when Brian Thomas Jr. is actually top 8 in expected points at the position. Yep. He just has to catch the football. It's not a usage thing like it was with JSN or the Bears wide receivers. It's literally just the wide receiver who has an injured wrist not catching the football. If he did, the usage is totally fine. And
shout out to Shane. This is a well-designed pass game offense right now. It's just the execution has been largely lackluster. Like they can't, before the snap, yes, they're the worst team I've ever seen. But after the ball is snapped, they're really on it. So I don't know, man. I agree. Brian Thomas has been very bad this year. He's also was sensational the previous year, and he almost beats Derek Stingley for multiple touchdowns this last game where the ball was like slightly underthrown, yada, yada. Without Diami Brown, they're not going to be increasing Travis Hunter's role. He's stuck as a slot part-time player in the offense. They're going to bring Parker Washington into a full-time role. I think they're just going to get Brian Thomas going here. I know he's got that wrist injury, not my favorite. But man, they're second in expected points to their wide receivers collectively. And Brian Thomas is very clearly their best guy. One of these games, he'll have like an 85-yard touchdown, and then everybody's like, yeah, ranking him that low seemed pretty silly. So I'm not sure if that's going to be this week. Not the easiest matchup, but man, it's going to be silly when he has his like 250-yard touchdown game. And I was like, oh, there he is. Yeah, he's still the fastest guy on the field.
Again, very aggravated when the passing game coordinator who works underneath Liam Cohen, the head coach, Grant Udinski, the offensive coordinator, is the one being blamed. I'm not here to stick up for Shane Waldron. Just that line of thinking that he's like a cancer of a team is just crazy to me. When in the past, you could say that when he was play calling and designing offenses for JSN for these Bears wide receivers. That is not the case here. It's not the usage that's the issue. It's the guy just having the yips, having an injured wrist, and not catching the football. That's the issue. And that can change immediately, hopefully, at some point.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, right now with all those drops, Jacksonville is still with a positive EPA on offense, and their success rate is even better than that. They're going to figure it out.
All right. I took Brian Thomas Jr.'s 59.5 receiving yards in the pick and lobby on the higher for there. George Pickens is your wide receiver 9. We're on a streak of you battling consensus here. He's wide receiver 18 in consensus rankings. This is against the Green Bay Packers, which is actually kind of terrifying with the Cowboys down 2 offensive linemen and the pass rush, including Micah Parsons. And Jerry Jones giving bulletin board material here for, Micah Parsons on top of it.
Yeah, Friday, right before the game, making sure to get those news nuggets out there. This is all about the TV ratings, and I cannot wait to tune in on this one. There's just so much riding on George Pickens. The matchup obviously is really bad, but without CeeDee Lamb, he had 16.4 expected half PPR points, which would be like as much as Puka Nacua is getting. So he doesn't even have to be efficient. This team's going to drop the ball, drop back to pass a ton. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball very effectively against this front. And I can see the Packers offense, who are also dealing with a bunch of injuries on the line. I still think they're just going to be able to attack the ball down the field against this defense. So to me, it's like, I would be pretty stunned if he did not have, 120 air yards, 8 targets in this one.
Wow.
And where else is the ball going to go? I know Ferguson's going to project very well, but it might go in the dirt. But I just think Dak Prescott's too good to get completely humiliated in terms of passing yards and receptions. I think it's just going to go to Pickens.
I will add in the pick and lobby, his target projections at 8.5 right now. So they are expecting it. I will add, though, that this Packers defense on 20-plus yard targets, which might be George Pickens' favorite ones, they've allowed 0 receptions on 9 targets so far this year.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they haven't faced George Pickens, though.
No, they have not. No, they have not. Courtland Sutton is your wide receiver 10. He is wide receiver 16 in consensus rankings. This one is, I think, a layup for you against the Cincinnati Bengals defense. Tremendous matchup.
Yeah, this is a great one. Just looking at it since the beginning of last year, he's the wide receiver 11 in usage. He's had like a couple duds, but over his last 14 contests, he's averaging 75 yards per game. And then this one, he's at home. The Bengals right now, first of all, it's the Bengals, but last week they didn't have Shamar Stewart, their first-round edge rusher. Cameron Taylor-Britt, their corner, has been banged up as well, and the Broncos, rightfully so, are 5th in projected points. So I know the offense has looked really sloppy, but even with the offense looking sloppy, Courtland Sutton is still doing rock solid right now as a wide receiver 16. So like good player at home, huge team total, and we don't trust everyone else in the offense. Like to me, I'm just going to fire up all these X receivers, win downfield, a little bit more boom busty than consensus rankings likes, but these guys can have huge games.
We've all sent money to a friend or a group after dinner, bowling, maybe a birthday party, an event that you forgot to bring a gift to. And it can be difficult with other ones, but not Cash App. With Cash App, you can spend, save, and live your life knowing that your money is right where you left it with advanced built-in security protections that you count on and help when you need it. Spend with peace of mind today and order a Cash App card in the app or at cash.app/card. For a limited time only, new Cash App customers can use our exclusive code to earn additional cash for real. Just download Cash App, use our exclusive referral code SECURE10 in your profile, send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That is Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit card issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Instant discounts provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. All right, here's the fourth of 4. Ricky Pearsall is your wide receiver 11. He's wide receiver 20 in consensus rankings. Juwan Jennings, unlikely to play, hasn't practiced all week long. Brock Purdy is actually practicing more right now than Mac Jones is, so he's going to be back in the fold here. Every week I get questions, hey, should I sell Ricky Pearsall? The dude is 3rd in receiving yards at this moment. Keep playing him in this spot.
Yeah, this ranking assumes Brock Purdy is in, but not scrambling as much as he used to, and then Juwan Jennings being out. So if either of those things change, I'll have to move him down a little bit. This is not an easy matchup. I just want to shout out, Jacksonville has been really strong in passing EPA allowed right now. They've added pieces in the secondary, 2 of them. Devin Lloyd at linebacker has been playing well. They obviously have always had a really good cornerback 1 and Tyson Campbell plus edge rusher. So this is like a good Jaguars defense all of a sudden. That said, Pearsall had 16.3 expected half PPR points last week because he's the only guy in the pass game offense. And like, if that's what we're going to get again, like we know Shanahan's going to move the ball. Like they're never shut out of games. So like, who is it? Is it Demarcus Robinson? Like who are you guys? Is it Tonjes or is it Christian McCaffrey for about 250 yards? Maybe that's what it is. Who knows?
It can be both too. I mean, Ricky Pearsall has 50% of the 49ers air yards this season. Now, my only caveat to this, my only negative is that constantly in the offseason so far this year, I've talked about Ricky Pearsall being better versus man coverage. He's basically their answer for that. And we know the Jaguars, especially when you go back and watch the Travis Hunter tape, they play a whole bunch of zone coverage. Mm-hmm. So that's just one note I wanted to put up there.
Yeah. Even still, I like him.
Garrett Wilson is here as wide receiver 12. This is at the Miami Dolphins. He does not get Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. It's most likely Justin Fields, as Aaron Glenn said. If Fields clears concussion protocol, he will be starting.
Right. I'm projecting it to be Justin Fields. The Dolphins just been completely invisible in the secondary. So, I mean, what else is there to say? It's the same roller coaster ride that Justin Fields is going to put his wide receivers on. But I mean, if you can't feel confident against the Miami Dolphins, who I believe are leading the NFL in passing EPA allowed, that's obviously expected. I don't know how you can feel confident with Garrett Wilson this week.
Ladd McConkey is your wide receiver 13. He is wide receiver 19 in consensus rankings at this point. I already talked about on the trade show, love Field, Love Mike Clay. I'm sure I would love Daniel Dopp as well, but I do not know him. I'm sure he's an awesome dude. I think their reaction to Ladd McConkey being third among Chargers wide receivers the rest of the season, it's entirely possible because it's been that way so far this year. But if you gave me odds on it the rest of the year, I would take him first, and if not first, then second moving forward. There's enough also for all three of these guys to get the rock too.
Yeah, they are top 8 in projected points on the highest neutral pass rate, and Justin Herbert's playing like an MVP candidate. And I know for a fact Ladd McConkey is extremely good at football. So like it's going to click. I will concede that there's more target competition because Keenan and Quentin Johnston are playing than everybody would expect. But they're also passing the ball more, and Justin Herbert looks healthy right now. And I really trust what Greg Roman's doing just as a play caller. So I'm with you. Like maybe this turns out just to be too stubborn and like Ladd McConkey is like not that alpha, but I do think that for the rest of the season, who would I rank the highest in targets, production, fantasy rankings, all that type of stuff? It to me is still Ladd McConkey, and a 20% target share in this offense is like still enough to get going, but I would guess that's going to be 25% or higher moving forward.
Now, one issue is he doesn't get as many like high value targets as the other guys. Like QJ and Keenan Allen are more red zone weapons than Ladd McConkey has been so far this year, with 5 red zone targets each compared to Ladd's 1. But the Giants are also 31st in points allowed to slot wide receivers, and Ladd plays about 60% of the snaps in the slot so far this season. Right after this, though, is Keenan Allen. Anything else you want to add to his profile against this Giants team on the road?
Yeah, just the last 10 games with Justin Herbert, this goes back to the end of 2023. He's averaging 8 catches for 86 yards, which is just like elite wide receiver 1 numbers. This year, just looking at the first 3 games, he's a wide receiver 7 on wide receiver 6 usage. So he's still like that big physical zone beater that's like tough to tackle right at the first down marker. And then he's obviously really good against man coverage too when Justin Herbert's looking for him. So yeah, there's no reason to rank Ladd McConkey over Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston just looking at this year's data, but I do think that these two are going to be the most reliable target getters on the team.
And if you do want to fade Ladd, the best way of doing that is then pick him Olave. I mean, he's at 62.5 receiving yards. Is his higher or lower? If you think he's going to go lower than that, then go into the lobby and take that projection on top of it. And by the way, once again, this week, we are rolling back the witching hour, 3 o'clock Eastern. Open up your phones as soon as you hear Scott Hansen say it is the witching hour at 3 o'clock Eastern, and you'll get more bonuses and discounts and tokens and all that type of stuff. So go and play an underdog. I think we're in 41 of 50 states right now. Emeka Egbuka is next. Yes, against the Philadelphia Eagles as your wide receiver 15. Hayden, he was incredibly efficient with touchdowns and longer receptions in the first 2 weeks. And then he was still incredibly efficient on a high target share in week 3. And that should only continue moving forward.
Completely agree. So there's so many moving parts with this one. So we have Mike Evans out and Tristan Wirfs in. That's obviously both great news for Emeka in fantasy. Chris Godwin is in, but they're already talking about this plan that they have in place and like that he didn't practice on Thursday for a plan. Here's a prediction. That plan's also going to say he's going to be out there for 50% of the snaps or something like that. So I think Chris Godwin being out there is like, doesn't really change my mind about Emeka at all. And then on the Eagles side of it, that cornerback 2, you know, like how teams keep highlighting that. Well, Adoree Jackson and Jacorian Bennett are both injured now too. So like now we're like making up names for that second cornerback spot. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Quinyon Mitchell. Like they might shadow Quinyon Mitchell on Emeka Egbuka. Maybe he sees some Cooper DeJean. I don't really care. Like they're going to pass the ball plenty. And Emeka's really good. So I think this is like a fine enough matchup, but really just like we keep removing people from the offense and like all of a sudden he's the last guy standing.
Chris Olave is wide receiver 27 in consensus rankings. Your wide receiver 16. Our favorite PPR scheme of all time faces a Buffalo Bills defense.
Yeah. Wide receiver 2 overall in usage this year, not in points. And we may or may not be chasing these expected points of this year, but I mean, how many targets
have 13, 10, and 14 targets in the opening 3 games of this season.
And they're 16-point dogs here. And on top of that, Buffalo's defense, I don't think it's like that good. I mean, Matt Milano and Ed Oliver are not going to play in this one. I feel like they've looked kind of slow at times. So yeah, I think we're going to get a bunch of quick outs and screens and catch up mode. And this is once again, easily the fastest team in plays like per minute. So that's by design. It's total outlier, weird PPR scam situation here. But like, to me, it's like so bankable. And it's like part of the philosophy. Like Nick Underhill quote tweeted my pace chart with the Saints and explaining like why this is like the team philosophy. Like, it's not going anywhere.
Well, someone else quote tweeted your pace and kind of went semi-viral with it. Did you not see this?
No, who was it?
Okay, producer Waves, I'll send it to you and you can put it in post. It was one of those street food guys with a cart. You know how sometimes they like do things really quickly? Yeah. This guy was going like normal speed or pretty slow, but he was moving his head all over the time.
Okay,
that's the New Orleans Saints. They're moving really fast, but really doing nothing
going
with
anywhere.
It was fantastic stuff.
That's perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, in the pick'em lobby, kind of stunned. I understand it's 13, 10, and 14 targets, but 5.5 receptions in terms of his higher or lower right now.
I will meet you guys in the pick'em lobby.
See ya. I'll put one at the end of this, by the way. I already have a pick 4 going.
Well,
next is Jakobi Meyers as your wide receiver 17. The Bears, quite bad at cornerback because Jaylen Johnson is injured for a long time. And specifically in the slot where Jakobi Meyers plays about 66% of the time, Bears are allowing 12 yards per target to slot wide receivers this year.
Amon-Ra St. Brown just completely ate their lunch. And like that split is even worse so without Kyler Gordon, who was not out there this last week. And he's still not practicing with the hamstring injury. This team's just been completely pathetic. I think that the Raiders are going to have to pass the ball plenty in this one because I think that the Bears offense could also make this one kind of a high scoring game. So it's like not quite as optimistic as I was feeling about Bears Cowboys last week, but this Raiders Bears game kind of has some like underrated shootout potential as well. And just looking back at it, like wide receiver 20 in usage right now. And it's a good matchup. So like anything lower than wide receiver 20 in rankings is like completely unjustified.
Zay Flowers is next. He's ranked much higher in previous weeks. He is wide receiver 18 at the Kansas City Chiefs here. We know that after 2 weeks of battling JSN for the highest target share in the league, he Freaky Friday'd with Mark Andrews last week. Yeah. And here we are now as wide receiver 18 against a Steve Spagnuolo defense.
Yeah, good old-fashioned rug pull on us for Zay Flowers last week. This matchup, I think he's going to see Trent McDuffie plenty. Zay Flowers goes inside and outside. Trent McDuffie kind of does that as well. Christian Fulton, the Chiefs cornerback 2, has not practiced with an ankle injury. The Ravens are 6th in projected points. Like this isn't like an easy matchup, but this does obviously it's like 2, I guess, good offenses right now. And hopefully like the 40% target share in the first 2 weeks is a little bit more predictive than what we had last week, where I was just surprised that like, we're not like throwing him like the same screens and like motion stuff that we saw in the first 2 outings.
That 11% target share last week was as low as since week 15 of the 2023 season, according to the worksheet. AJ Brown is back bullying smaller corners. And here he is with a team high 44% of targets against the blitz to open the season. And now he gets the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their defense and Todd Bowles, who like to blitz a lot.
Yeah, historically, this has not been a good matchup for Jalen Hurts. And I think that the Buccaneers secondary looks a little bit better. They've hit on some players in the last couple years in the draft. AJ Brown, though, I mean, obviously everyone saw like that go ball, but that comeback route where he just like threw the corner like off of him like 2 or 3 times on the same rep was insane. So I hope that they keep doing more go balls. I hope that they pass the ball a little bit more. For like the last 5-6 years with Tampa Bay, and it's like remained true over the last 2 years too. It's the best run defense in the league. Obviously, Vita Vea has got a huge say in all that. So hopefully they feel incentivized to like rip these passes down the field and take their chances. But historically, not a good spot for Jalen Hurts in this pass game.
So consensus rankings have Jamar Chase as wide receiver 7 this week at the Denver Broncos. Ooh. He is your wide receiver 20. I see that face. Just some stats to back this up, or maybe some, previous production. In 7 games that he's played with Jake Browning, he has 1 top 30 scoring week. So, hey, not only do they believe that he's going to be a top 30 scorer, they believe he's going to be a top 20 and top 10 scorer this week. Hayden, why might you be a little bit lower on Jamar Chase than the public this week?
Well, those numbers last week, we had a season low 6.8 expected half PPR points against Brian Flores. Like Jake Brown just had like no chance, especially when the team's like fumbling the ball's ricocheting. But I mean, now you're going into Denver where Jamar Chase is going to be shadowed by Pat Surtain. And yeah, they're projected for the 4th fewest points. So like, I get it. Like he should walk away with 10 targets in this one. Like it should be much better than it was last week, but we're talking about like a low team total in like the most impossible matchup in Denver against Pat Surtain. Like it's not looking great. Still
Denver team that just lost, by the way.
Yeah. 100%. 67.5 receiving yards in the pick and lobby. So
that's pretty high.
It's pretty
Very
high.
high.
But a lot of these guys are in the 60s.
5 of his 6 targets last week were within 9 yards of the line of scrimmage. So we're not likely to get one of those deep shots that can, break the week for him on top of it. He's going to have to do it after the catch, which is always possible.
Totally possible.
Always possible. Drake London is your wide receiver 21. So maybe some other underperforming assets that we have so far this year. Nico Collins slightly, Brian Thomas Jr. obviously, Lad McConkey are ranked well ahead of Drake London here, who is facing the Washington Commanders defense. Why?
It's not the matchup that makes me nervous. It's just the more I went back and watched the Michael Penix situation, like you start to see some of the issues. Just the offense itself has completely changed, like fewer 3 wide receiver sets that you talked about. That means that he's not going to be in the slot as much as he was previously, which has been like a very like cheat code for Drake London. They're 28th in neutral pass rate as a team. And then with Michael Penix, he just did not throw the ball over the damn middle, especially off of play action. So like everything's going to the perimeter, which things are just like less efficient. And then he sprays more passes than what Kirk Cousins was doing the previous season. So I think that there's kind of like having some like systemic issues on like what the hell Michael Penix even is. And like, that's, I think maybe a reason why the wide receiver coach was let go. And that
only pistol stuff. Yep.
The pistol stuff. Now the coordinator's going from the booth down to the sideline. Like these are like tangible red flags. Like NFL teams are like usually pretty good at hiding their red flags. Like when you and I are talking about it on a Friday afternoon, then that means like things have like are an actual issue. Zach
Robinson went on the mic this week and was like, yeah, we had a great practice. We had a great warm up. And then when the ball hit our wide receivers' hands on, Kyle Pitts on 3rd down. And then he said, that's a sleepy stadium to play in. Then our energy just left.
Like, blaming the architecture? Is that where we're at?
No, like blaming the lack of crowd noise for your lack of success on the road. Like it was just some weird comments from him. Now, I do think this Commanders defense is one that you can attack. Like they haven't been great at corner and stopping, passing reps so far this year. And maybe Zach Robinson, again, if I can see that he needs 5 slot targets a game, then Zach Robinson can hopefully see that this week too. And if he doubles up, then we know that Zach Robinson listens to the show.
For sure. But London also is like sensational working over the middle. And if like Michael Penix, like that's just not who he was. And like how many throws do you remember Michael Penix making at Washington over the middle? Like everything was like big out routes and go balls in corner routes to Romeo Doubs and those guys. So it might just be something where like the under center play action, like slot targets, RPO targets and stuff that we've been accustomed to with London. Like we just might see fewer of them this year.
T-Mac, Tetairoa McMillan is here. Is this ranking at wide receiver 22 completely attached to Christian Gonzalez playing?
Yeah. So far he's the wide receiver 29 and wide receiver 13 usage. I think his play is closer to like league average at best or at worst right now. And I think that he's a positive regression candidate. That said, like Christian Gonzalez is like one of those top dogs. And I think this could be like a very fun matchup for us to break down stats versus film in the recap show. It is helpful. Jadavian Sanders and Xavier Legette, both not practicing, still probably going to be ruled out on this one. So I don't hate the spot. Did want to mention that the Patriots are like one of these like pass funnels. Like their run defense has been so good. And I feel like Vrabel would like rather be like, you cannot run on us. And like, that's where their defensive tackle linebacker additions from this offseason are playing. But they have been like giving up some explosives through the air. Like obviously getting Christian Gonzalez back is going to seal some of those up. But yeah, I think that they're going to try to pass the ball here because I think the Patriots are like selling out against the run.
Here's an interesting note from Reeves. T-Mac only has 17% of the team targets on early down, but on 3rd downs, he's up to 45%, which is wide receiver 4 across the league. I mean, we all watch it. Throwing him the football versus throwing everyone else the football on this team, it is just wildly different.
I mean, he's doing it in every single way. You can drop the route tree and I can show you a play that he's won on.
Deebo Samuel is wide receiver 23. He has this wide receiver room to himself, unless you want to count Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey. That's his competition this week.
Yep. Even like no Austin Eckler matters. I think that, AJ Terrell on the other side, he's not going to play in this one too. So like everything has broke his way in this one. The only thing is no Jaden Daniels, but Marcus Mariota has been averaging, it was like 9.3 yards per attempt as a Commander on like 62 dropbacks. So I don't know, man. He looks really good. All these guys are projected for like 60s. So like I would say like from about George Pickens to Deebo, it's like largely the same exact profile, I think.
And no Noah Brown even for this team right now. Quentin Johnston is your wide receiver 24. This is against the New York Giants, I should say. He's running really valuable targets. I talked about the red zone stuff. He's also getting the big crossing routes. He's getting the downfield routes on top of it. And like, if 4 of those hit per game, that's amazing.
Yeah, just a lot more crossers, posts, slants, and stuff, which is his best trait is just running after the catch as a big dude. So that's what they're doing. He's the wide receiver 6 on wide receiver 10 usage. So this is by far the best he's ever looked. And this is, once again, an eruption spot against the Giants, whose defensive line is dealing with a lot of injuries. And then their secondary, they added a lot of pieces this offseason, but it's like taking a little bit to fully gel right now. So it's a good spot for all of these guys.
We are running into another streak of you throwing the middle finger on consensus rankings. Next up is Michael Pittman. He's your wide receiver 25. He's wide receiver 32 in consensus rankings, and this is at the LA Rams.
Rams don't have Ahkello Witherspoon, outside corner, and they're projected to lose by 3.5 points. And I think that they're going to pass the ball a ton here, and he's been their top guy. So he's a wide receiver 13, a wide receiver 46 usage. And I think this is one of his easier matchups to date. No Alec Pierce. I don't think that like really matters all that much because like Adonai Mitchell.
It's an Adonai Mitchell thing.
Yeah, we'll see. I just think it's a great spot.
Mitchell might play 2 wide receiver sets this week.
Yeah, he probably will. He probably will. He's like definitely like DFS pick 'em lobby, move the projection up type of play. You know, I mean, it's probably like 32.5 yards, and it's either going to be 0 yards for him or 69. You know, it's like no in between.
Adonai Mitchell is at 30.5 receiving yards right now, exactly. And just 2.5 receptions. Yeah. But a long reception of 16.5.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It should have been the exact same. Like his
16.5, just one single catch.
It's the same. Yeah.
I mean, Pittman's just been fantastic against zone. You know, I think you'll have Tyler Warren and A.D. Mitchell and Josh Downs and some man coverage stuff, and then your zone beater right now is Michael Pittman on the other side of the field, and that's been really, 100%. Really good. Tyreek Hill is against the New York Jets. He's your wide receiver 26. I'm just bored by the Dolphins at this point, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I mean, Tua just he's got to be more aggressive. So he's the wide receiver 22 and wide receiver 28 usage. Since last year kicked off, he's the wide receiver 31 in points per game. I think Sauce Gardner is going to see Tyreek Hill mostly, traveling a little bit more there. But the Jets are 3rd worst in passing EPA, and I think that Tyreek Hill still looks good. So like, I'm not ruling out a big explosive Tyreek Hill game right now. It's just like, I'm with you on the Tua watchability factor right now is like just so low. So,
all right, here's a big one. Wide receiver 42 in consensus rankings is your wide receiver 27. That is the rookie Matthew Golden at the Dallas Cowboys, who, by the way, on throws of 20 or more yards down the field to wideouts, the Cowboys have allowed 11 receptions on 15 targets. I think Matthew Golden could get 7 of those in this game.
Dude, I know. This is one of these where like people unsubscribe if I'm wrong on this one, but they're like appreciate the boldness if we come together on this one. Look, he's playing 86% of the routes. The Packers are 2nd in projected points. Deron Bland and Trevon Diggs are going to play, but play through injuries. Neither have looked good. Yeah, Trevon Diggs is like falling over because his knee and shoulder and stuff's all banged up. Like you said, like every Dallas Cowboys pass game metric is terrible. And Matthew Golden has been like this close to 3 huge 40, 50, 86-yard touchdowns. He's like truly like this close. He's doing nothing wrong. So it's going to happen soon enough. And hopefully as the season progresses, they're like, all right, let's get you a cheat motion reception here. Let's get you another screen. And that's kind of like the post-buy rookie bump stuff. But they've kind of been forced into like getting him on the field immediately due to injury. So I think we're going to start seeing this stuff pop into the box score eventually.
Okay, which of these do you like the most? 43.5 receiving yards, 3.5 receptions, 22.5 longest reception, or 8.45 fantasy points?
Let's go the fantasy points because I think he's very live for a touchdown. And I do think that one of these games he's going to have like 5 or 6 receptions. So I think there's a chance that he can get it even without the score.
Next is Xavier Worthy, hopefully making his 4th snap debut in the NFL in 2025. This is against the Baltimore Ravens. Xavier Worthy's very much needed on this Chiefs passing attack right now.
Yeah, and then the Ravens defense I thought was going to be good this year. Like they've just been terrible, and they still have like 3 or 4 guys on the defensive line still not practicing, and then their secondary guys have just been kind of been beaten one-on-one, which is surprising. So this is like a wait and see ranking for me. He's been practicing in full. He like looks excited to be out there in practice. I would love a Jay Glazer report 10 minutes before kickoff on exactly like that Xavier Worthy's like actually going to play the entire game. So there's obviously re-injury risk with this one. This is more of a wait and see. I'm just trying to get like, I know he's going to play, but is he going to play 100% of the snaps, or are they going to, filter him in and out? I'm not sure. They desperately need him.
It's he's playing without a labrum. It's like torn. Like,
I guess, yeah.
It's one hit on a guy that weighs 165 pounds, and the one hit from his teammate did it last time. Like,
well, I mean, his teammate is 250 pounds running full speed. That's
also a linebacker, or a defensive end on a screen. Like this can all happen immediately. I have no idea. I mean, I'm starting Xavier Worthy in a league next to Matthew Golden, in fact, in the flex.
Okay.
But I have no idea what expectations I should have here.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, like the Chiefs are they're 1-2 right now, and they need to win.
One of these teams is going to be 1-3 after this week.
I know they're both going to still be fine. That's the official take. But yeah, with Xavier Worthy, I just don't know. I'm waiting for more information.
DJ Moore is your wide receiver 29. This is at the Raiders. He's only been targeted on 16% of his routes, which would be by far a career low. His previous career low, I believe, was at 22.5%.
Yeah. I can feel it. There's not getting as many like manufactured touches. He's playing a little bit more running back though, which I have liked. But expected half PPR points down 3.4 per game since last year. So obviously still a small sample size. Like I said, the Raiders, it's a really good matchup for DJ Moore, and like he's still like on the field for the entire game, and like he's even getting like a couple fun running back snaps as well. So it's not been as pretty, but it's undeniably a great spot for DJ Moore.
So to the people out there, this is what Parker Washington looks like. He is Hayden's wide receiver 30. He plays wide receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he's wide receiver 66 in consensus rankings.
I'm just going to say they're wrong. He's going to be a full-time player. And last week he had 16.1 expected half PPR points. He had drops for sure. And like, I'm not saying he's going to be super efficient, but this team is just like, they play with enough pace and short passes and stuff, and he's not coming off the field. And it's like, if they're going to be second in running or wide receiver usage, and they're not going to get Travis Hunter like on the field more, then Parker Washington's going to like inherit the Parker Washington plus Diami Brown role, which has been like extremely good. We're giving away $10,000 every week on our site because of these guys getting the ball. Like there's a reason for this. So they have a lot of faith in him. Like he was the guy that whenever I'd watch and read the reports out of training camp for Jacksonville, is like, I'm like dying for anything about Travis Etienne and Travis Hunter usage and Bashal Tutin. And then like every report was like, Parker Washington looks like the best player.
And just for transparency, this is only if Diami Brown's not playing, which we expect him to not play.
Yeah.
And if everyone missed the press conference clip that I posted about Liam Cohen that he said this week when asked about Travis Hunter's usage and with Diami Brown out, does that mean Travis Hunter's going to play more? Liam Cohen flat out said no, that Travis Hunter is playing one spot and learning one spot, which for him is the F role of basically being a slot wide receiver. And so that simply means that Parker Washington is going to fill in for what Diami Brown does. So, I would have loved for Travis Hunter's role to expand into 2 wide receiver sets and all these things, but he basically said that it is not going to happen until his second season. And that this is Parker Washington playing the 12 personnel stuff and then also out there in 3 wide receiver sets too.
He might not be wide receiver 31, but I know for a fact he's not wide receiver 66. That's insane.
Romeo Doubs is wide receiver 31 for you. This is at the Dallas Cowboys. We already talked about Matthew Golden, and Romeo Doubs is the constant of this Packers wide receiver room. And we know they're coming off the heels of, Jordan Love having a 1.7 average depth of target.
Yeah, just a much cleaner matchup for Romeo Doubs, up to 94% of the routes this last week without Jaden Reed. He's also somebody that can create explosives, and he's a guy that gets usage in the red area as well. So if the Packers score 27 points like they're implied, that can't be all Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft. Like these wide receivers are going to get involved.
Keon Coleman is next. He is easily the highest Bills wide receiver for you. Why?
Just like likeliest to have a explosive or on the 2-yard line get a jump ball fade. That's what we're relying on. The week one stuff's just going to be a total outlier. He had 17 expected points. That's when they were trailing multiple touchdowns against the Ravens. They're just never going to be trailing by multiple touchdowns, especially this week against the Saints. All that said, they're projected for 32 damn points at home against a team that's not been able to stop anybody. So this is one like you're just praying for an explosive or a touchdown, but would you rather do that on the team that's projected to score 5 more points than everybody else? Like that's kind of where I'm at. So like completely boom bust. Like him in standard more than in full PPR, yada, yada. But if he had 50 yards and 2 touchdowns, would anybody be surprised? I wouldn't.
DeVonta Smith is your wide receiver 33. He got a 4th down touchdown last week on a simple out route from the slot.
Yep.
And he has a lot of history against this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, albeit on the road. Intrigued to see if, the Eagles put the pedal to the floor immediately in the first quarter or if they have to wait till the third quarter again to do it.
Yeah, so going back to the beginning of last year, he's the wide receiver 26 in fantasy. This year, he's the wide receiver 39, a wide receiver 44 usage. Remember, like he's been like extremely efficient on all of his targets, which we can't fully expect to like always be the case, even though he's good in a great offense. So I think like in the 30s is like kind of where his baseline should be. I think that they're going to pass more because of the matchup, but I think that they're going to be less efficient passing the ball just based off of the history with Todd Bowles. And, their interior offensive line is like not nearly as good as it was like last year and the year before. Like Dickerson's playing through an injury. I think that Lane Johnson was just a stinger and that he'll be fine at right tackle, but just the interior just like not as good as when they had Kelsey and then like 2 stud guards.
Rashid Shaheed is here as wide receiver 34. If Chris Olave is getting 14, 10, 17 targets per game, she can't get as many, but he can still, 6, 7.
He's hanging in there. Yeah, yep. He's hanging in there. Wide receiver 41 on wide receiver 32 usage. He's had at least 8.7 expected half PPR points in all 3 games, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that's like top 40 wide receiver numbers right there. There's going to be a ton of targets. They play with a ton of pace. They're down 16 points according to the betting markets right now. And I think that Rashid Shaheed has like the skills and the speed to take off at any point for a huge play, which we have not like fully seen yet. Had one nice sideline play, one kind of rub route for a touchdown, but he can be one of these guys that pops off for like a 50-yard touchdown in garbage time, like no problem.
Jaylen Waddle against the Jets. Anything you want to add to this Dolphins passing attack?
I'm guessing he's going to avoid Sauce Gardner, and the drop off to cornerback 2 is notable. The Jets are 3rd worst in passing EPA this year. I think they really miss Robert Saleh. Also, the target share numbers, it was at 15% last year. This year, it's at 18%. So that's your Johnny Smith bump. I wish it was higher than 18%, but that's just, how they're playing offense right now.
Wan'Dale Robinson has a new quarterback. He had a sick week 2 and then kind of just been there ever since then. He's wide receiver 36 here.
Yeah, I don't hate it. If Jackson Dart's going to play with more pace and more tempo and more RPOs and stuff like that's the name of Wan'Dale Robinson's game. So I think it's like he gets a bump too. Like I think everyone in the bump gets a offensive bump just because of play volume and more receptions in the offense. Obviously that one game where all those coverage busts from the Cowboys, it's going to be hard to find that, but I think that he's going to hang in there and do like a PPR scammy type of thing. I think that's totally in range.
Well, I wish Calvin Ridley was a PPR scam at some game, some level of his career. Wide receiver 37 at the Houston Texans. He's caught 8 of his 21 targets so far for just 111 yards. And they've opened with difficult opponents, but it doesn't really get easier from a cornerback matchup here against Derek Stingley and company.
I'm noting, though, Stingley has not practiced with an oblique injury so far. So we'll wait for the Friday report. Even if Derek Stingley is out, though, this is still the Texans pass rush against a backup right tackle because Latham also isn't practicing. The Titans
and Latham, there's like no update. It's like very vague on what he's missing time with right now.
Yeah, don't love it. The left tackle has not been like lights out either. Long story short, the Titans are projected for 15 and 3/4 points. So could Calvin Ridley catch his big out routes and crossing routes and posts? I think it's possible. But I'm starting to get a little nervous.
But new play caller. Already in week 4, new play caller here for the Tennessee Titans. Okay.
This could be the last game for Callahan.
Tre Tucker is next at wide receiver 38. He's caught all 4 of Geno Smith's touchdowns at this point. He's a full-time player on top of it. I think people view him as this like scatter shot, flash in the pan type thing.
Sure.
He's also run the 12th most routes in the NFL this year. So is he much more fantasy viable and real life viable than the public are giving him credit for?
Yeah, I went on the waiver wire show with Jacob and made the case for Tre Tucker. I think a lot of people just like look at his stats last year and like in terms of yards per route was like pathetic last year. The problem was with that offense, everything was thrown within 5 yards because they couldn't block it up, and their quarterback play was just like get the ball out and pray. Where now, as the big post route, crossing route, go ball guy with a quarterback who's a savage and plays, ethical quarterback and wants to push the ball downfield, and maybe he'll take a couple sacks and interceptions at the expense of it. It's just a good matchup for Tre Tucker and Geno Smith together. So he's a wide receiver 4 on wide receiver 24 usage. He's got a 20% target share running all of the routes. To me, the guy that he comps to, I think both in terms of fantasy appeal and then also just on tape, is Darnell Mooney, who I think last year immediately was starting to flash as a wide receiver 3, was buried in the rankings. Then eventually everyone's like, hey, like this is like 4 or 5 straight weeks of this. We have to start showing some respect. So he's going to be volatile, just like how Darnell Mooney was. But I think that he's a little bit better of a player than what the spreadsheets are showing. And because he actually has the quarterback that's going to throw the ball downfield.
His higher lower in receptions is 3.5 right now.
That kind of still makes sense to me, but it could just be like, he's still more of a better and best ball guy, but I do like him.
Longest reception, 19.5 yards, and then receiving yards is at 42.5.
Yeah,
right
yeah. That makes sense.
Okay, next 2 names here are T. Higgins and Troy Franklin. They're going to be on the same field, but not at the same time. Anything else you want to say about those 2?
I think we should spend some time with T. Higgins.
Go ahead.
ESPN's Mike Clay noted that the last time these 2 teams played, that Pat Surtain shadowed Jamar Chase, and then T. Higgins was being shadowed by Riley Moss on the other side. And T. Higgins had 11 catches for 131 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, one big difference, Joe Burrow is not, walking through that door. So T. Higgins without Joe Burrow had a season low in usage. He had only an 8% target share. The Bengals are still projected for very few points. So I'm struggling with this one. Like I think that he could, if Jake Browning plays better, I think that he could have a totally fine week as like the guy in the easier matchup here, but it's hard to like fully trust this one. So I was curious, like what your thoughts, like where would you put him?
I'd be trading him.
Well, let's say you can. The rest of the league, like I also don't want these guys.
I'd be playing Matthew Golden over him,
Okay.
But I think this is fair. They just can't function. Like the Bengals cannot function right now, and they're going against the Broncos. This is not one of these matchups I want to do. I will say, like, he had some production previously with Jake Browning, and he can always get there, but they're going to have to be like shorter receptions, and they're going to have to be contested catches if he's going to get any. And it's just kind of high variant stuff, and it might work sometimes and it might not. I'm just not into, like the bottom fell out of this team. The Jamar Chase stuff, I don't even want to chase it, and people are still.
Where are you in consensus rankings? Just curious. Do you have it?
He's 33. Wide receiver 33.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm just lower on the Bengals and the market.
Yeah. I mean,
Nick Bonito. Who's blocking Nick Bonito? Like, forget the corners and stuff. Who's
Zach
blocking
Allen?
What's the plan? I don't know.
Okay, to close out this thing, you have DK Metcalf and Jameson Williams here as wide receiver 41 and 42. People are going to be very upset by this DK Metcalf ranking. I want you to get ahead of it because Hayden, he is wide receiver 25 in consensus rankings, and he's wide receiver 41 for you.
Okay, I think I can defend this one pretty well. He's the wide receiver 52 in usage so far this year. He's performed fairly well. He's a wide receiver 26, but he's a negative regression candidate. I think that his role is not that great. If you look at the expected half PPR points per game, it's down 3.4 points from this last year. The Steelers offense has, I think, largely been kind of struggling. Had a couple of random explosive plays against some bad defenses. But this is just a matchup where I feel like extremely nervous about what Aaron Rodgers behind a questionable offensive line against Brian Flores is going to do. I know that Rodgers can get the ball extremely fast because he just can't hang in the pocket and create time. And he's not going to have that against, just the chaos that Minnesota brings. And DK Metcalf is not like a get it out quick type of wide receiver. So unless that changes and like they start spamming like bubble screens and whatnot to DK Metcalf, which we like never see, I'm just nervous about this one. So
yeah, he has to have a red zone touchdown, basically. And he got that early on this season.
Yep.
But he has 6.3 air yards per target. He hasn't got more than 7 targets per game right now. So he's like a low volume, short catch player right now. And that's just not his game. And it's a tough matchup. We saw Aaron Rodgers, and we'll talk about on Saturday's show, just get annihilated by Brian Flores. And that was also over the pond last year. So with Faraz, prior to week 1, I said, go and trade DK Metcalf, because to me, his value was at his highest that it was going to be all season after people draft him as like wide receiver 24 or whatever it was. Yeah. And that's like kind of come true so far. Well, especially I like it when they can block people. I don't like it when they can't block people. Yeah. And they're going to have a tough time blocking people.
Yeah. This is Brian Flores. Come on. Show some respect.
Just some names that weren't ranked here, because we'll get shouts about them. Khalil Shakir unranked, Jerry Jeudy unranked, Jordan Addison, and Alec Ayamanor as well.
They are ranked on underdognetwork.com if you guys want to go read the reports. And then also I'm going to be updating all of these stuff. Like, I haven't seen the Friday injury reports. I still do some research on Fridays and Saturdays, so I tinker with all this stuff as well. So make sure you're watching the Sunday live stream. We got some competition with Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf, but bring this on your laptop and we will be here answering your questions and updating all this stuff.
There it is. And as always, you can support us by supporting Underdog. Use promo code The Show. Click the link in the description down below. We have, the Witching Hour. And then we also have, for the first time, if you have not played, play $5 and you get to then get $100 in bonus credits on top of that. Again, tight ends, quarterbacks on Saturday. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you there.